Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, how are
I heard
you?
you were a master gardener, and I need some help. I just moved to the area. I've lived in a little apartment, and now I have a place that has a balcony, and I wanted to grow some plants. Everybody seems to be gardening around this place. Anyway, a friend of mine left me this pot. What do I do with it?
Okay.
How do I start?
All
I've got
right.
this pot, and I've got this one.
Okay. Well, these are two good examples of things that you can plant in containers. This one's plastic.
Lightweight, too.
Yeah, it's very lightweight, and this one is ceramic. It's heavier, but you can do wonderful things in both of them.
Okay.
The first thing we're going to need to do is scrub these guys, because you want clean containers
Okay.
when you're starting fresh. And this is a great little tool for that kind of project. So we'll just loosen some dirt in here, the old dirt, get rid of it.
Now,
There you go.
what kind of dirt am I supposed to put in?
Okay, well, we do have a special kind of dirt. You don't want to go out into your garden.
Oh, okay.
and
Well, I was
just-
going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is called potting soil. And it comes in big, big bags. And let me caution you, make sure you get the potting soil as
Yeah, I've
opposed
seen so many. There's
Yeah.
topsoil, there's
Right.
potting soil, there's plant mixture, all kinds of things. But
Right.
I have to get potting soil. Okay.
Yes.
And it says for indoor and outdoor potting. Okay.
Correct.
Why?
So this is what you want to have. It's the ideal, it says right on the package, ideal container mix, ready
Why?
to use.
How's that different from the topsoil?
Well, it's got, for one thing, it's sterile. It doesn't
Oh,
have any
okay.
diseases, and it doesn't have any bugs in it. And it has, here, I'll just, got a wonderful little tool here. And here's the mix right here, and see these little
It's got little
white
white things in it.
white beads. Yeah, that loosens the soil and aerates it.
Okay.
So, but before I do that, here, why don't you just hold it a second. Don't put it in yet. One important thing to do when you're working with pots is, second, I don't have it, with some gravel.
Well, if I don't need gravel, can I just do it with this one?
It's a good idea to put a little bit of gravel. You know, Susan, if you just run right down the stairs, I'll hold this, and just get a little handful of gravel. That's a good idea for drainage, so that the water and the soil don't come out through
Well,
the
I have
holes
an
in the
idea.
garden.
Could you use a coffee filter?
Sure, you could. Really good idea. Okay, go ahead. Shall we fill your container?
Okay, now what kind of plants should I get?
Well, this is fall,
Yeah.
so we're going to be going into the cooler season.
Yeah.
And we do get snow and freezing temperatures here, so you have to take that into account. One thing really good this time of year are pansies and violas.
Okay.
You also could do, this plant is this is an aster. No, it isn't. It's a,
Read the label, huh?
yeah, it doesn't have it, but you know what? I picked it because it's such a spectacular,
Well, that's got pretty color. It's
accent.
pretty tall, too.
yeah. So, when you're thinking about containers, there's a concept that's called fillers, spillers, and thrillers. And what would you think this is?
Well, that would be the tall one, whatever he calls that.
Yeah, that would be a thriller. What do you
Well,
think?
it's bright colors, it's tall, it's got the stuff at the top, so that
Right.
would be noticeable.
And then this is a spiller because it would come over the side
Yeah.
of your plant. And I've got some other ones over here. This is a real nice filler, and it's a complementary color. So should we go ahead and plant your
Well,
pot?
the little balcony I have is in the sun, but then I have another one around the corner of this apartment that's in the shade.
In the shade. Okay, well, for shade plants this time of year, the violas will work, and primroses will work,
Okay.
and here, I'm gonna do, This is a real good spiller. See how it would just come over?
Yeah,
And what color?
it almost kind of looks like a cactus, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's actually, yeah, this is called portulapa, and it'll go year-round here. It may not like the snow, but it will come back.
Okay, all right.
So, would you like to get a little, let's get a little more
So
dirt.
how do I plant this thing?
Okay, let's get a little more dirt in there. It's not dirt, it's potting soil.
And since I have a sunny area, what other kind of plants can I use? This might be kind of fun. What other kind of potting scenarios
Okay, well,
besides flowers?
besides flowers, this is also the time of year to plant some bulbs. And actually, you know what we could do? It would be really fun. And I happen to have some bulbs right here. Just a second. Hold that thought right there. This is bulb planting time. And there is a product, it's bulb food specifically for bulbs that encourages the root growth. And it'll make your bulbs and your plants real happy.
Why?
Because this is called, this is bulb food. It's organic, it's blended with humic acid, it's beneficial for the soil, and has planting, and
Oh, here they read it's right on the
Right here.
side. So the package tells you everything you need to know, doesn't
it does, and there are usually just 3 components, and you'll see it on most.
So do all plants need some food like that in containers?
Well, there's different types of food, of plant food for different types of plants. So this is specifically bulb food. Excuse me. It has a high percentage of phosphate in it, which encourages the root growth. So I'm going to sprinkle a little in here.
Well, this is a pretty plant. I like those pretty blue flowers. What is that?
Okay, that's a
This
sage.
is not, so we're planting bulbs or we're planting this?
Well, you know, I was going to do a combination.
Okay, well, I guess we could, but do we have enough room? I have another plastic pot. Could we do the bulbs in this pot?
We could, sure. We
Why
could
don't
do
we do
whatever
that?
you'd like to do.
And tell me about this one here. This is
Okay.
different.
Right. I'm going to just a second move these back here to this container. Now this is a little herb pot that I've had going all summer long. I've got basil, and I have some sage, and I have parsley, and I have thyme. And I'm going to give you a little job, Susan.
What?
I'm going to give you a little job. I noticed that my basil, I've let it go, that's exactly right. I've let it go to beyond just the leaves, it's going to flower, and that actually inhibits the growth of this plant. So go ahead and pick off these.
Okay, I can do that. It's easy to just
And
pinch this
I've
some.
got a pot right here I can
Oh,
put
I
in
was just putting it back in.
there. Okay. And then here we've got some of the sages, or
Now, will this be okay all year, or what should I?
no, this won't. This will go till the first frost.
This sage?
And yeah, both the sage and the basil. Parsley will probably make it, and the thyme definitely will.
Okay.
But this is for your summer pestos.
So in the spring, I could save the pot, and I could just replant the basil in the spring.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we've got something going here with the sage. Again, it's like the basil. It's
Now, what kind of light do these things need?
this is sun.
And you should cut the flowers off?
I'm not cutting the flowers. See, these are faded. And it's a good idea for all your flowering plants to cut off flowers after they've faded, because what happens if you don't is they go to seed, and that is pulling energy from the plant. So rather than encouraging more flowers, the energy is going to the seeds of the plant.
Okay, so I could do an herb bed.
Yes.
Maybe I'll wait till spring to do that.
And actually, you know what you could do with the herb bed? Do you have a sunny window? You could bring it inside
I could bring it
for the
inside,
winter.
maybe have
Yeah.
it in the winter.
Uh-huh.
I did.
And just be sure, what I've got this plant on, this planter, is I have just a little
Why do you have
device.
those hooky things in it?
Well, it's just to get it up off the table, because the table's wood, and set the pot on it,
It's kind of heavy. Can you move that around?
and it actually encourages drainage to get the pot up off, and it wouldn't matter whether it's on your deck, on a table, on a bench, even on a counter in the kitchen.
You know, if you put this on rollers, you could turn it around and move it places more easily.
Yeah, you could.
But I do a lot of sitting in my job, and my back sometimes can bother
Okay,
me.
and guess what? We
Well,
have.
that would work. I
Yeah,
could put this, and then I
You could,
Okay.
and you could roll it
Okay,
around.
got it.
And this type of device is really good for if you have a planter that's really heavy. Like some of these over
Oh,
here.
yeah, those are.
If you had this on the deck, you could roll it around.
Okay, well, should we go back and you can show me what I need to do to plant this one? So I just use one of these. It's just a
Well,
little bitty. How
Little
big
bitty,
does it- How big does it get?
Okay,
Say?
here, good idea. And you know what? This container doesn't have its little tag. And these tags are really important, and it's a good idea to keep them. This came from the Viola mix, and it says plant in the sun or part shade. It grows 4 to 6 inches, and plant
This
them
one?
about 4 to 6 inches
Oh,
apart.
okay.
Usually when you buy a plant, it doesn't matter whether it's a 6-pack or a 5-inch, or I mean a 4-inch or a 1-gallon. Plants usually have these in them. And I stick them, when I do a planting, I
wow.
save
Easy to forget,
the,
isn't it?
right, it's really easy. So
And
I
embarrassing when you have friends come over and ask what it is. And
what
you
it
have
is
any
and you
idea.
don't know.
So can I just stick this in, or do I have to do anything
Well, you know
different?
what, that needs a little more
Yeah,
soil.
I need some
It's
more dirt on
yeah.
it, or soil, topsoil, potting mix.
potting mix or potting soil. And this great tool. And we've already got the fertilizer in there,
Oh.
so it'll encourage the roots.
Well,
To
you know,
grow.
I saw the compost workshop that they did on, on the web page. Compost wouldn't work in the pot?
No, that would be better if you were going to put that in the ground.
I see. But
this
in the
is-
pot, I need to kind of help it better.
Correct, and this is sterile soil, so it's not bringing in.
So I can stick it in, or
Well,
what?
let's dig a little hole for it. And you know what? Look, right here, what do you see?
Roots.
Right. So these roots,
Oh, you're gonna mess up the roots.
I am. You know what? I'm letting the roots breathe. So that's a really good idea, to just separate
You're
it.
ruining all that. Oh, no.
Oh, it's okay. Actually, the roots said, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I can breathe. So dig a little hole with your finger. Set it in there.
Okay, and this is the thriller, right?
It sure is thrilling. All right.
Now what? Do I put these in next?
Well, what? You've got some choices here.
Okay.
You've got this portulaca
Mm-hmm.
that will drape over the edge. You've got these little daisy type flowers, and you have pansy. So you need
Well,
to pick,
I think
you
I
pick
like
one of these.
I think I like the leaf shape is more harmonious, and then it accents the colors. Whereas this, your first thought is, geez, what funny leaves they have. And I think that this would be a better mix. So,
Okay. Now what do
and I
you see?
just- You told me I just split it apart, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is breaking my heart. I'm afraid
Oh,
I'm
but you
hurting
know
it.
what? The plant. Now dig a little hole. Have a little hole ready for it.
Boy, look at all the roots on that one. My gosh.
Oh yeah.
They've been in that pot a long time.
They have. And
So
you know
in the
what?
summer, you got to check that.
Well, let me tell you, you know, when you go to the nursery and you see something that you like, it really is okay to do a little pull.
Won't they get mad at you if you do
No,
that?
they don't. They understand. They know that you're a real gardener if you do that.
So I can fool along.
Yeah.
Okay, now will that work?
Well,
Or can
Now,
I
let's
put more
see.
in it? They're so little looking. I just stick more in it.
Well, no, because you know what? Let's
Hmm.
let's read the label. How does it grow? It grows 4 to 6 inches. So these plants haven't finished growing yet. So they're going to spread out and fill this
Okay.
container. So you're in good shape. But what else do you think it needs?
Soil.
Definitely. So I'm glad this potting soil bag isn't full.
That would be heavy.
I couldn't be lifting it. Here. I'm going to let you sprinkle the soil. And here, let's separate. You got it? Good job. Okay. Great. Let's get another little scoop.
Okay.
Swing it around. Hold it in there. Okay, and we did already put fertilizer in the bottom. If we hadn't done that,
What,
this
one
little,
more. One more.
yeah.
Another one here.
If
Well,
we-
now another problem, I do have to travel with my job some. And what do I do about watering? It doesn't look like this pot holds very much water, right? I mean, after a while.
Right. Do you have a good neighbor?
Well, I just moved here. I don't know anybody.
Okay.
Surely there's some other ways I can do that.
Well, this guy needs water.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do
Well,
you think
I've
he
seen
does?
those rainbirds,
Uh-huh.
and I've seen timers. I do have a water outlet.
You do? Okay.
I mean, it's by the side, so I
Okay.
could, but, you know, if I'm not there to water it.
Okay.
But those rainbirds are kind of interesting. They're kind of big, and it's kind of like a ball with a long tube.
Uh-huh.
And I've been taking care of a neighbor's plants with that.
And did they get that from the nursery?
I don't
A
know.
local nursery? Well, you know, it'd be a good idea to check with your neighbor.
So that would
find out
work.
where they
And
got
then
it. That
if I
would
have-
definitely work.
If I have a water supply, then what do I do?
Then you'd set the timer, and it will take care of the plants. And my guess is, I haven't ever used that myself, but if you had a series of pots
Oh,
that you could probably do extensions,
yeah, I've seen those in the nursery.
and then your pots would be taken care of.
And then I could just check them when I come back from my business trip to be sure that
Right,
the
that
timers
it
all went
worked.
off. Okay.
And you know what, you were talking about water. We just planted this. Let's give this guy a drink. Okay, so we have a thriller, a spiller, and a filler.
Well, I have another concern.
Sure.
Somebody left this for me.
Aha.
It's kind of sad looking. What ideas for hanging pots do you have?
Okay, well, would you like more than one type of plant in there?
I don't know. What do you think? What are my choices?
Well, we have more of the same kind of plant. You could fill this and it would fill
What does that
in.
look like if it's all one thing?
Well, look at the different colors in this plant. So that would cover.
Well, now you've got some interesting ones back over there.
I do. I do. So,
What's that fluffy thing then? That fluffy plant with that funky looking planter.
you know what? I don't know. So, shall we get these down and put
Well, no, I can come over and we can just look at them. They look
Okay.
like they're kind of heavy.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Okay.
So you've got that one's got a couple of different plants,
Yeah.
but the other one just has just the one kind
This
of
is an
plant.
asparagus fern.
Uh-huh.
It's a real nice, like on a deck. It has a pot like this with a hanging.
Will it live through the year? I mean, will it keep growing?
You know, if you, can you attach anything to the wall of your house?
I'll look and see.
Because you can buy nice hooks like this and have it on the wall, and then just be careful where the drip is.
Mhm.
That when you're going to water, I have a container underneath to catch the drip so that you wouldn't stain
So
your
I
deck.
could either plant this with a bunch of this,
Right,
or I could mix things with it.
you could. And we
Okay.
do have some options here. Here, I actually have, and this might be pretty. Here, it's a thyme. This is too tall, but we have more little violas, which might be a real pretty filler in there.
Well, you know, in my thinking, the leaf shape is different, and it's just very different. But maybe if I had more of the same leaf shape, so this, I think I like this idea better.
Okay, and then we could fill this
yeah,
in.
so that's an idea
Okay.
for me. Now, what other things can I plant in containers? This might be kind of fun.
Okay, now it's
You've got your
September.
herb,
We've got our herbs, we've got our
and we're going to do
flowers.
a bulb one pretty soon.
Yes, and that's it's actually my favorite time of year is to do bulbs. And I just happen to have some. So should we plant some bulbs? Sure. Okay, and
Do we plant all the same ones?
well, you can. You have several options. And what I purchased was, whoops, daffodil bulbs. Now, typically people think the daffodils are yellow.
Yeah.
And,
They're white, I
but they
think.
come in quite a variety of colors. If you go to any bulb catalog, or even to some of our nurseries, you'll see that you have multiple choices. And I saw a video, and I had never seen this done before, but they planted, put in the soil a little bit, put in some iris that are tall, a taller plant, put in a little more soil, put in daffodils.
So they sort of layered it.
They did layers of bulbs, which I've never seen before.
But then when
I'm
they
gonna do
bloom,
that.
they would be all different shades and things. So
Right,
you
different
almost have
colors.
a bulb garden of
Yeah,
sorts.
different sizes. So I'll be going to the nursery and getting more.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I'm going to have you run out and get yourself some
I'm going to try that bulb.
gravel, and I'll get some things together. You need more soil. Good job. Okay. I'll do the dirt duty this time.
But this package here you have is all just daffodils. So
That's
they'll
all-
be at the same level.
Correct.
Well, how do you know where to put the different kind of bulbs? Do they have do they grow differently?
They'll tell you. I bought these at a local nursery, just loose in a bag. But typically they would come in a package with instructions and the height and the color, and when to plant and when they bloom,
And how deep is it?
and how do it get. All the directions are on the package.
Okay.
The plant nurseries and bulb growers are really good about that. And daffodils do grow tall, so we can, I would say, half full for this. And not
How do I
quite.
know which end is up?
Okay, not quite. For bulb food, it has to go at the bottom.
So these are the roots,
That's the roots.
and it'll come out of here. Okay, so it goes
Okay,
like this.
and it's important to have the bulb food in the bottom. Okay, so
Because that's where the roots go.
this is the top, these are
Got
the
it.
roots.
How
So,
far do
and
we
you can
space
put
it?
them, we can cram them in here.
Well, you told me it was going to be big.
Yeah, they're gonna, well, it's more about that they're tall.
Okay, so these you want to allow for spacing. These you want to
You
hide.
could, correct.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so
But
we've
this
got
won't bloom until in the spring, so I
This
have to
won't.
wait.
Right, but you still have to water and take care of them. They'll still, and I would put them, if you have them on your deck, I'd put them under an overhang, because we do get pretty rough
Okay.
winters, and we could
Okay,
have a lot of,
I'll pull them in.
okay. Now, I've been planting bulbs. I actually started planting bulbs when I was pregnant with my son, and he is now 50. And I have planted bulbs wherever I've lived.
So this is daffodils, and they'll bloom in the spring,
Yeah,
but they'll bloom at one time.
that's correct. They will
Do they
bloom
bloom at other times too?
during they're spring bloomers.
Well, do you have some that come up early? You know, I have an idea. Now, if I'm gonna be there all winter looking at this empty pot, what if I put these on the top?
Excellent.
And then
Yep.
that would be kind of pretty, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and
But I don't have much space in it. You said to stay facing apart, okay. But you cram the daffodils all down in there. Oops.
right. Whoop. What do we got?
I'm not sure. Doesn't look like a plant
Oh,
to
we
me.
got a twist tie. Got a bonus
Okay.
in there.
No white one in here, mix them up a bit.
Okay, this is exactly what I do. And you know
Okay.
the
Oh,
other
that looks kind of pretty, doesn't it?
the other advantage of this is the daffodils will come up
Uh-huh.
and they'll bloom and be beautiful, and then the flowers will fade, and when the flowers do fade, you cut them off, but you're still going to have green leaves, and this is a good camouflage for those green leaves because
see.
the
So it looks pretty now, and then it'll look pretty when the daffodils have finished their show. Okay?
right, and if you cut those green leaves off the bulb, you're hurting the bulb.
Oh.
So what I do is I take the stems of the bulb, fold them in half, and you can either use a rubber band or you can use one of the leaves and wrap it around and let them die back naturally. And
But this will sort of hide it. They don't look like they're going to be very big, but
right,
if
so
I
that'll
had something that was
camouflage.
a little bigger, that would
Exactly.
even work better.
And I do this outside too. In the when I plant bulbs in the ground, I do the same thing. Is
I know this is not what you told me to do, but
well, you know it
I'm
does.
just
It
kind
looks
of
good.
curious.
Hey, sure.
Okay, so that would be a little bit more of a height to hide
That's
it.
the
Okay.
beauty of container gardening. Is
Okay.
you can get
Well, what
very
other things
creative.
can I plant? What is this plant right here?
Okay, well, we're talking about container gardening,
Yeah.
and I have these blue pots all over the garden, and my original goal was to do geraniums and have different colored geraniums, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And I do have a geranium in here.
Where?
Well, it's right here.
Oh.
And then I planted this, and I didn't put the tag in. I don't know what it is.
It's much bigger than the geranium.
It's too big. So this is what I call my learning experience of this past summer. That there you go. I don't know
and
what
what's
it
in
is.
the blue pot?
But I actually can dig this out and replant it out in the garden. Now I have, this is something new for me. This is called an earth box, and it's a real interesting device that I've had good luck with. And it's a self-contained unit, and it has this.
There's a tray in there.
There's a tray, and then there's a hole for this, and you actually water through this pipe, and when it's got a water saver down at the bottom, and when it has enough, it drains out through here. And my plan, because it's fall, we're going into the cooler season, I will fill this with potting soil, and I'm going to plant my lettuces in here because it's time for the cool season.
So you'd have fresh lettuce in the fall.
Well, and if I put it on the deck next to the house, I'll have lettuce through the winter.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to. The nice thing it sounds like with the containers is you can move it around and find the right temperature and lighting
Right.
for them. I see.
Now, the thing about containers is if you've got a deck and you get some of these bigger pots, once you fill them with soil,
Oh, they'd be heavy.
really heavy. So these are called plant feet. This one has rollers. So if on your deck you had a big pot like this, you knew it was going to snow, you could move it and get it under an overhang. So, this is another important, this is rather
There's no
large.
plants in that one.
You could, actually, except it doesn't have any holes. But you could put gravel in it, and you could put a series of smaller pots. You could fill this with smaller pots and have it real decorative. But it's really important if you're putting pots on decks to have a container underneath them to catch the drip.
So that's an interesting idea for a pot. Do you have some other ideas for that besides the plastic and the ceramic pot?
Okay, well, here, this was an art project with some tile, and you can plant in this. But because it doesn't have any drainage, I would do what you were doing over here. Here's some thyme. I would actually just put the pot within a pot. Drainage is key when you're doing containers.
Okay.
If you don't have drainage,
They
your
would sit
plants
there
will
and stay
drown.
wet all the time.
Yeah. So you could camouflage this, but this
Okay.
would work.
Okay. So that's one idea. Other.
And then my husband was into bonsai for a period of time, and these are some little bonsai planters. And if you've ever been to the county fair,
Oh yeah, they're
and
beautiful.
so but they have it's just absolutely magnificent what can be done. And here's the good old-fashioned pot that we all know so well, ceramic. Do you grow orchids? Or are you an orchid lover?
No.
This is the kind of a planter that orchid growers use, and it's got holes in the side,
In addition to
Which-
the holes in the bottom.
and always
Oh,
for drainage.
Okay.
Always,
Well, they
always.
really need drainage. Huh?
And this is for air as well as drainage. Now here is an attractive pot, no holes, but you can do a pot within a pot. So if you buy a container that you really, really like and you see that there's no holes, you can do this. Again, good old gravel in the bottom because you always want drainage. Then you can put this. And this is actually what I do every year. I do some daffodils.
Well, what about some of the other things that you have here?
Okay, well, this is very creative that a friend of mine made, and it's wood. And you do. You think of wood, but how clever is this? Just to build a wooden box. I've had it on the table here, but I do lift it up. I put some bricks underneath it, and it's just been the centerpiece for my outdoor table. And again, I've got thrillers, spillers, and fillers. And in terms of maintenance, you don't just put things in a pot and say, okay, I'm done. You pay attention, and I just do the finger method, but this little guy, he's finished blooming. I just use my fingers, snip it off, and that will encourage more flowers, more growth,
Okay.
and prevent them from going to seed.
Well, you have some other things back behind you.
I do.
Is that one of your craft projects?
Well, this was a craft project. Thank you for noticing. I don't know how many of you out there went through this craft phase where you dipped a towel in a slurry of cement,
No, I
concrete,
didn't do that.
and then you wrap it around a bowl or a pot, and
It does have some nice fluting on the side.
right, and so it sort of catch can, drains really well, and I've actually had this a couple of years.
So
And
it's more durable than you might think.
yeah,
huh?
it was.
Okay.
It was a fun project, and a whole lot of people did them, and you just, you kind of go with the flow. And what else do I have? Now here again, my good friend, she came up with this idea just to take an old boot, stick in a plant, and I just think this looks great. And you know what? This would be something really fun that kids could do.
Oh, yeah. Because everybody
they-
has old boots,
right.
shoes, things like that.
They could get their old shoes. Maybe they had a favorite pair of shoes, and then their feet grew, and if they don't want to give up. And So this is just a little 4-inch pot. And
Well, I noticed you have all these these trees in pots.
right, this is my Japanese maple collection that I've had for several years. They have different shapes, different colors, and I have to be real diligent about watering them since they are in pots. The other thing I have to do, and I'm ready to do it with this little guy, is about every 3 to 5 years, it's a really good idea for trees that are in pots to just, and I have this wonderful tool here.
I bet they won't let you on the airplane.
No, they're not going to let me. They probably wouldn't let me go to a master gardener meeting. So I pull out the plant because it's pretty root down, and I just loosen things up so that the
Well, you're
roots.
knocking all the dirt off.
Well, I'm just what I'm
Soil.
going for is to loosen up the roots so that there's more breathing room for the plant, and then I'll come back and add more soil. And I actually do this with all these trees, except this big giant one that's just too big to maneuver. Some of these take help from my husband, but it keeps them healthy, keeps them growing, keeps them safe.
Well, I noticed there's so many different shapes, and they seem to all be in the shade. So
Yes.
they seem to like shade, right?
Yeah, Japanese maples definitely belong in the shade. Our sons are.
Do they ever get very big?
This is maximum size. You can buy them by variety. Again, always read your plant label. It'll tell you the maximum size that they'll grow. And this little guy actually is a little red maple. It's been in here for several years, and I noticed this year that it's reverting back to green, but it was red.
Well, it really does give you a nice airy feeling, and it's small, so people could use it on the balcony or in kind of a place as an accent place.
Right,
and
a small back, smaller backyard. It's not going to be a giant tree. So they've this particular variety has reached its maximum size.
But then they come with different shapes, like this one looks like he's kind of mounding, and
Right.
this one looks more upright.
Right.
So
and,
you can
and actually even different sizes of leaves. So you can look at the size of the leaves. And then that's a specimen back there. It's a red flower, a red leaf Japanese maple. It's very specialized.
Well, what color do they turn in the fall?
That they will all turn a really brilliant red or orange.
So each
It's a
variety
nice-
might have a different color
Yes,
in the fall.
yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, that would be just spectacular here.
It's-
And
yeah.
it would be so easy to do, to be able to garden in a small area with limited availability to garden, but make it very attractive and very functional, because you could have herbs, and you can have your bulbs in the spring, and you could have trees.
And you have you can grow vegetables in containers. So like I'm going to have my lettuce going for
Well,
the,
you've got your lettuce.
and I
see.
have a tomato plant in a container
Well,
on
this
the other
is
side.
going to be fun. Well, I certainly will come back. Well, and can I find out more information if I want to learn more about other things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We are having workshops on Saturdays. Right now we're Zooming. We used to do it live and in person. But just again, Nevada County Master Gardener website, and you'll get loads of information, contact information, and what's happening.
Well, I better leave now, but I only have 2 pots because I can see that I might need some more.
Okay, good
Thank
for
you very
you.
much. It certainly was nice to have met you, and I will be back.
Anytime. You're more than welcome. The green leaves year round. Be good in a pot on your deck.
Hostas would be good too.
Hostas are a really good
And they
idea.
come in so many shapes.
Right, and don't forget to put your bulbs in and cover them with violas or pansies, and that'll take you through until next spring.
But that's a sun container. We need a
Correct.
question about the shade.
The shade, thank you. Yep.
Okay.
The ferns.
The ferns.
Ferns, there's so
and-
many varieties of ferns, particularly the Japanese sword fern, which is kind of a gray color, and it's a wonderful
Beautiful.
accent place.
Right. And Japanese maples, they do lose their leaves, but structurally they're quite pretty all winter long, and you can get different colors. There is a red stemmed Japanese maple that's very attractive in the winter.
Another one to consider would be the begonias, although
Oh,
they
my
die
goodness,
back
yeah.
in winter, but they're just gorgeous in summer and they do well in the shade.
And they again come in so many different foliage things which you can use to accent. Lily turf is a good accent place, and Japanese maiden grass works very well. In fact, I have a container of it over there with in a pot. That's very nice accent piece. Next question is if that answers your question, then we'll just go on to the next one.
One of the questions that came up, Chris and Susan, is should they bring the pots inside for winter, or what would be a way to maintain or keep them from cracking here in our cold winters?
What kind of pot do you have? That would be my question. Because the plastic, the hard ceramic ones with the glaze usually stand up pretty well. Terracotta is the one you've got to worry about. And that, now I just brought mine under the porch. I think you did that too, didn't you,
Right,
Chris?
I did. And I actually had for several years a lemon tree in a plastic pot, and I would wrap it with the old Christmas tree lights, have it right up against the house. And I would plug in the Christmas tree lights, and there you go. I had, a decorative light lemon tree going all winter long.
Well, another thing you can find, it's called Harvest Guard, and there's some other type of fabrics like that, and they will raise the temperature about 5 to 10 degrees, even more depending on the thickness of the material. And you can find those at any nursery. It's a very light, flexible material that you can drape over your vegetables if you want out, even to extend your growing season in the garden. But those work well with protecting your plants, particularly for containers that are too big to move in.
That's great, lots of options. One other question that came in was, right now coming into fall, what would be good plants to put in pots that probably are plastic that could withstand the cold weather, but plants that would do well through the fall and winter?
Well, I don't think you can go wrong with that flowering kale, and you can mix that. Now that's going to be kind of a low filler, I would say, more than a spiller, but it would work well with a lot of other things. Asters are another one. Now asters are going to get kind of big, so you may want to dig them up after you use them. They've served their purpose as far as the decorative ones. Your phantomums,
primroses, violas.
That's for spring.
Well, actually, you could put the primroses in. Yeah, I was at the nursery yesterday. They had some, and they will overwinter. Violas and pansies.
Oh, you mentioned Rudbeckia too. That's a nice, colorful one too.
Right, to go in now. Coneflower.
Well, and there's also such a variety of gourds and pumpkins that you should put in the containers, just kind of an accent piece all by themselves, and then plant around them. So there are some options. I think you've got a few more in the spring, just because that's kind of the way our brains work, to plant them in the spring. But fall brings a whole different color spectrum to you.
And, when you do go to the nursery, our local nurseries are very, very helpful, and they will tell you what will work to plant right now and what will be successful. And typically they only sell what will grow season by season. So never be shy about asking questions and asking for help.
As I look around my courtyard with the plants I have, I see those little tea roses that work. I've had 2 different varieties out in the courtyard in a container, and now that the weather is cooler, they're finally breathing a sigh of relief and going to start blooming again. It was just too hot for them before. So that's another option that, that of course they're going to die back later, but they will during this cool weather start blooming. But I agree with Chris. Japanese maple, you just can't go wrong on any time of year.
Questions. And that concludes our workshop for today, Saturday. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.